Back when Valve was working with HTC to launch their first commercial-grade VR headset, the HTC Vive, HTC and Valve started reaching out to influencers and content creators to supply them with the VR hardware in order to be able to create content about the burgeoning virtual reality marketplace. There were a few people at Valve tasked with finding and contacting YouTubers and Instagram users and Twitter users and journalists in order to be able to arrange a shipment of an HTC Vive, along with a bunch of preloaded software that you could just automatically register to your Steam account using a Steam key. I was one of those people back in 2016. I was sent an email by a person who no longer works at Valve right now, but sent me an email saying, hey, we'd love to be able to send you an HTC Vive. Here is the key for all of the software. Let us know where to ship it and we'll get it to you as soon as possible. So I didn't see that email for 2.5 years. I missed out on a free Vive. I actually ended up buying my own Vive. That's a true story. It wasn't until like late 2018 that I noticed the email. I sent back an email saying, oh my God, I can't believe I missed this email. How did I miss this email? And somehow this person still worked at Valve, still had the same email address, and still had an HTC Vive to send me. So what ended up happening was I was sent an HTC Vive that Valve was in the process of getting rid of as they were moving development onto the Valve Index. So I actually own a Valve-used HTC Vive that was used in the very early development of Half-Life Alyx. The key that was supplied to me gave me a whole bunch of demos and full games. Things like Tilt Brush and Fantastic Contraption and Walkabout Mini Golf. A lot of the very, very early VR titles, the ones that Valve was actually helping develop, both by actually programming things for them, beta testing things for them, and also supplying money and resources. Part of what was supplied is a program called Steam VR Demos. This was a program that was actually used in many conferences and conventions that Valve went to in 2014 and 2015. It's built on Unity. It's a blank white room with a whole bunch of different things that you can choose to play, all of them made by Valve. This was the earliest version of the lab. I have it. It works. But here's the fun bit. When you own a game on Steam, and the manifests for that game on Steam are publicly known, you can actually go in to Steam and tell your account to download earlier versions of any of the software you own. We've done this and got the very first version of Team Fortress 2. We've done this and got an alpha version of CSGO. And in doing this with this Steam VR Demos folder, we were able to get the very first prototypes for Half-Life Alyx. Project Shooter was a Unity demo that was created for the lab that was not finished because work on what became Hot Dog and E1M1 picked up steam in Source 2 and moved on to Half-Life Alyx, HLVR as we know it today. This Project Shooter demo, however, went through many iterations. What we were able to get a hold of very easily, because it's just sitting on my Steam account. It's just one of the public available betas for anybody that owns the Steam VR Demos title on Steam, which I have had on my Steam account for nearly 5 years, contained the earliest version of what became Half-Life Alyx. It's been sitting in my Steam account this entire fucking time. It's not the entire version of the game. It's not the version that you see in the final hours of Half-Life Alyx. It's actually a version where you use Alyx's gun to shoot drones and little spider robots in different photogrammetry rooms and sequences. What's also interesting is it was included with a whole bunch of unreleased demos, including a head-to-head multiplayer soccer game, a platformer, a 3D platformer, and a couple other smaller demos that to this day have not been released. All of them made by Valve, all of them made in Unity. Now, I have purposefully avoided talking about this publicly for a while because I wanted this video to be video footage showing off these very historically important prototypes. But there's a problem. The demos that we have were developed to run on a version of Steam VR that don't exist anymore, and in fact never existed. These demos date back to July of 2014. I have no idea how, well, I mean, they boot, right? But they can't be detected by Steam VR. They just can't. I don't know what to do. This is why I'm making this video. I'm kind of sending out some feelers for Steam VR experts out there that may be able to figure out a way to trick this really, really old VR software to run on more recent VR hardware. Because there's a lot of VR history. There's a lot of Valve history here. What's interesting is even though we haven't been able to get the demos to run, we have been able to look through the demos files, and the model for Half-Life Episode 3 or Half-Life 3's version of the Alex gun is in there. It's not the one that was used in Half-Life Alyx. It was the original one made for Episode 3. The one that they pulled from another canceled project just as a placeholder. There are a lot of very interesting little bits and pieces of code and models within all of this, and we're slowly digging through all of them. The issue is that right now we really can't do a whole lot with it. So if you're an individual that has access or knows how to use ancient builds of Steam VR, get in contact with me. You know my email. You know my Discord and Twitter DMs are always open. I appreciate it. Let me know if you can help. In other news, Half-Life Alyx creature developer, the individual that created Jeff, Christine Flayan, did a talk at Console 2021 back in March, and during the talk showed off an ungodly amount of beta footage of Half-Life Alyx from before they did the rewrite. I'm gonna be doing a video where I actually pick apart everything that was found there, but it's so cool. I know that the version of Half-Life Alyx before the rewrite was terrible, but this morbid curiosity of mine makes me so desperately want to play that game because it was almost done. They just were like, this, we can't ship this, delay it by a year and a half. I really want to play that version of the game, and it's so cool to be able to see at least some footage, some remnants of that original version. And what's even cooler is that this is actual beta testing footage. This is actual play testing footage from Valve. So you have individuals standing in the play testing room while developers are sitting in the play testing room taking notes. Oh, to be a Valve playtester and give just the worst feedback. Thank you so much to my Floatplane followers and supporters. These videos would not be possible without you. And thank you so much to you, the viewer, for sticking around for so long, supporting me for so long, and letting me kick ass for as long as I've been kicking ass. I'm Tyler McVicker, the Passionate Gamer. I love you. I hope you're having a good life. Adios.